Hey, well, welcome to another Auckland Business Chamber Business Insights webinar. It's been a great series, a regular ongoing series that I know many of you have found of interest and of value. I'm just delighted this week we've got Kim Larking. Kim is a neighbour of the Chamber, and he's also someone who has got a really interesting business story and background, and has, recently moved into the area of health psychology, if I can put it that way, and written, has a book, and done a lot of thinking in this area. So, Kim, it's great to have you. I don't know where it's going to go, but I'm really interested to see, and I know it'll be interesting. So, you're welcome, and we look forward to hearing from you.
Oh, hey, thank you so much, Simon. It's a real privilege to be able to talk to the chamber and to share a whole lot of interesting, fascinating topics that I get a kick out of and have really, really helped me. So the reason why I thought it was valuable to talk to your members is because I was a business owner way back from 91 to 2011, where I ran client management. And that was a very successful modeling agency. I found Kylie Back. She became one of the top 5, 10 models in the world, maybe the top model in the world in 1998. And so it was a very, very successful business. And I know what it's like. We just had a team of about 12. So it wasn't big enough to have, CFO, HR, all sort of stuff. So as the director, it was a lot of work, very hands-on. So you had to be really skilled across a lot of different fronts to, run a little team like that. So I know what it's like. I know how stressful running a business can be. And with this environment, that we're moving into right now, economically, winter coming on, I want to really talk about that later. My goal is to help people empower themselves, that they have, the best life, that they develop the best life for themselves. So you can try and help empower people, but when people learn the ropes, learn the tools to actually, discover how to empower themselves, that's what my book is all about. Yeah, how to empower yourself. So that's a little bit about my background. What happened was that after discovering Kylie, I thought to myself, oh, gee, what do I do now? I've sort of got one of the, very top models in the world. What do I do? Where do I go from here? So then I got very excited about opening an agency in New York, and I spent 2 years scouting for models around the world. I had all my existing models, and I knew photographers like to see brand new faces as well. And so I spent 2 years scouting and developing the contacts. I negotiated with Storm Models in London, who manage Kate Moss. I received the database in New York, and I was just about to go and sign a lease that afternoon and see my first 4 clients that morning. And that morning turned out to be September 9/11. And so I got no further. But what happened was this, I experienced this incredible epiphany where it made me really investigate my life, look at my life. And I won't tell the whole story, but it made me reevaluate everything I was doing. Hence, what I did is I redirected to forming a charity, Vision for Humanity. And from that, that's all about elevating global consciousness and helping to better the world and to create this audacious goal of creating a successful planet. And from that has sprungboard the associated endeavors of the Urban Sanctuary, my book. There's this whole literature, architecture of personal self-development. So the model is based around developing the individual to be the absolute best self in order to then develop the surplus capacity to be a positive, really positive influence upon our environment, upon society. So yeah, that's the big picture. I can show you some websites and screen shares later and that sort of thing. But that's a little bit of what motivates me. I want to die happy. And if we kick into a little bit of positive psychology right away, Professor Martin Seligman years ago was the #1 person in the field of positive psychology, the head of the Psychologists Association of America, I think it was, quite a few years back. I met the chap, amazing chap, but he would talk about 3 levels of happiness. And the first level was the immediate gratification stuff, you know, the nice wine, the food, the immediate dopamine hits, you might say. And then the second level was the more being in the flow and doing what you really want to do in life. And that's so important. Like so many of us, you know, we're in a job we don't really gravitate to. We know it's not our ultimate position. And so actually doing something that you want to do, that you're passionate about, that's a real blessing. And then this third thing, the most deepest level of happiness, he says, is when we get to dedicate our passion towards helping others. So we can still have the immediate gratification stuff. We can still have the, you know, the nice food and the wine and, you know, those pleasant experiences. But we can also have those other deeper levels. And in society, we don't really get taught, or it's not really promoted to dig for those deeper levels of happiness. And this is sometimes our undoing, you know, as people. I think that as we get older, the responsibilities of life become greater. So as a child, it's wonderful, isn't it? You know, you're under mum and dad's roof, and I'm trying to tell my son at the moment, you know, hey, you got a great opportunity to go and make some money, and you got no overheads. You know, save that money. Um, you know, but as we get older, we realize, gee, we've got a mortgage to pay, we've got kids to look after, we've got to really look after our health. We've sometimes realized that we've got to look after our parents as well, the elderly. So we come this into this position where we're sort of in the, you know, nucleus of, you know, this realm of responsibilities. And so what the book is all about, is all about developing the tools, the techniques, the methodologies, the skills in order to upskill yourself to handle those greater challenges. And that's exactly what's happened to me the last few years. So my mum died, my dad died. We had a fire at the family house. There were dangerous building notices placed on the buildings. We had to deal with the local council, who were very, very good, by the way. Fire engineers, accountants, lawyers, had to go to the high court, the family court several times. There were 4 different wills that my dad left. What a nightmare. So I found that I really needed, it was ironic because I was writing this book over 4 years, health psychology, and it's a linchpin of all of the other health guides. So the methodology is basically start with the mind and then move to microbiome or body, and then to biosphere, to the environment, to all the more external factors. And so I realized that I was using every single tool and technique in my own book to get me through, you know, my challenges. And so that's why I really feel that the book can help others. And that's why I'm so passionate about talking about it. So my greater goal, vision for humanity, the founder of Vision for Humanity, leaving this world having done something really constructive, helping other people, bettering the world however I can. Here's a book about how we can, for ourselves, self-empower. And then that branches into a whole array of other literature to keep advancing the person physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually. I've done a bit of talking there. Maybe I can keep
I
going.
think it's amazing. I mean, I suppose the question is, yeah, and I appreciate it's you know, and I've seen your book, and as I say, one of my staff members nicked it from my room, so I haven't read it because she has it, and I think is enjoying it. Although I haven't seen it this morning to ask her. Uh, so I appreciate it's a big question. There's a lot, you know, as you say, literature and work that you've done on it. So it's not necessarily a succinct answer, but how do we upskill? How do we do what you've just said around, you know, getting to a deeper level of happiness in our life, accepting that, you know, it all works together, the personal and the business, and, you know, everything we're doing.
Hey, great question. So what I want to do is just touch on a few of these. I mean, the
Yep.
book is just full of different tools and techniques, and it's got a whole chapter where you, after you read the book, you can go back to that chapter, and with that context of knowing the book, you can quickly refer to the tools and techniques. So there's just tons and tons of tools and techniques, and that's what I wanted to do with the book. I wanted to like just basically grab every single positive thing that we can do to aid ourselves. Let me just go over a couple.
Yep.
And then what I'd like to do is I'd like to try to relate it to business and to the economic environment that's coming our way or here already. So let's start with a couple of things. So you asked me one point, what is vagal tone? So vagal tone, this is to me, very, very important. Can you see that all right?
Yeah, fantastic. Become a visionaire. Now we've moved on to nervous system.
Yeah, so this is a diagram that I put together. And if you just go to the very bottom, you see sympathetic nervous system, parasympathetic nervous system. So in a nutshell, what you're trying to do is you're trying to balance these two aspects of our nervous system. And so the peripheral nervous system, I mean, it takes in everything from our environment, from, a little light touch on the skin to having to react to a, dramatic event. Our nervous system is very adaptable from very, very light occurrences to very dramatic occurrences. And, through the the sympathetic nervous system, we have this process of, you hear it over and over again. The caveman days, we're running from a tiger. Adrenaline kicks in. We get the energy. More so, the digestive system, slows down. Potentially, immune system, reproductive system. These things close down to really, funnel energy into, escaping. And so we have that adrenaline rush. And what's happening in modern society is, I find this quite common knowledge now. So I don't know what's helpful and what's not. But what's happening is that we're just too overactivated all the time with workload, with social media, with too many social stresses. And in my book, I go into what we do need is we do need more physical stresses. We need more, like I talk about cold therapy. I talk about intense exercise. I talk about these types of things that are good for us to a degree. And so the parasympathetic nervous system is, once that stress is over, or should be over, then the parasympathetic nervous system should kick in and it should relieve us. It should regulate our breathing. We should be able to calm back down again. We should be able to self-reset. We should be able to come back to a more balanced state. And so vagal tone to me is just vital. If you become more aware of your day, of yourself, of your day, and start to think, okay, well, how much of the day am I experiencing in this fight or flight mode? How much, am I experiencing in a more calm state? And your job, our job, so the book is very much about taking sovereignty over your own health and well-being. Your job is to think about, okay, well, I am pretty stressed right now. How do I balance it back out? So, there's so many things you can do. A big theme in the book is psychology determines physiology. So if we were to start some box breathing, for instance, for a few minutes, we would find that our blood pressure would come back down a little, that we'd start to relax a little, that we would start to feel more comfortable. If we start to engage the right internal dialogue, okay, if we start to start to say positive things to ourselves, hey, you've been here before, you can handle this. And if I can segue just into a neuroscientist that I really, really like, and that is Kelly McGonigal, Stanford trained. She talks about a stress is enhancing mindset and a stress is deliberating mindset. And a stress is enhancing mindset is exactly that. It's when we say to ourselves, hey, Kim, you've been here before, you can handle this, you can do it. When we actually engage that stress enhancing mindset, she's got science to say that activates DHEA, a steroid hormone that's actually good for our health. I mean, that's just amazing. Whereas if we have a stresses deliberating mindset where we say, oh, gee, this is too much, I can't handle it, take me out of here, which is a natural inclination, then it can actually potentially cause us ill health long term. And so basically, chronic stress is stress that's ongoing for perhaps a month or more nonstop, where we have no reprieve, where we don't self-soothe with forest walks, with breathing, with exercise, with what have you. And so this vagal tone, to me, very, very interesting. And vagus nerve means in Latin the wanderer, wanders through the body. I believe it connects into the parasympathetic nervous system. So vagal tone is having that, first of all, that awareness, hey, that we're going to be aware of our stress state, and then we're going to keep rebalancing that in order to keep staying dynamic. So there's nothing wrong with being in a amped up state. It's great. We can get things done. There's nothing wrong with it, but it's not healthy to continue in that state. And so we need to rebalance through the day, through the week. I'm a bit of a workaholic. I thrive on getting stuff done, but every single day I balance my day.
Amazing. I'm just looking up as you talk, vagal tone. It's a lot there, vagal nervous system. So this is this is a thing, to put it that way. And I mean, I suppose that one of the things I said is it makes a lot of sense to me intuitively. We in the modern world, and I'm no different to, I'm sure, many others, so much mental stimulation and stress. Everything, from our devices and phone calls and meetings and all of this, but not enough physically, you said. And so that need for cold, maybe, for exercise, for all these things. And then the one of the other ones you mentioned, their breathing. I mean, that's a few years ago, I feel like people would have said, oh, this sounds a bit silly and kind of new age nonsense or something. But actually, I've, in terms of business coaches I've had a bit to do with recently, they all, sort of surprising in a way, but they all go to breathing. It's quite a big part of the whole thing. So it's this. So it's quite whole. I suppose I'm not really asking you a question. It's quite a holistic thing, isn't it? You've got to have all of these things and get that balance. And your key in that is that vagal tone. Which, yeah.
Yeah, look, I do a health directive program. It's a 12-week program. It's designed to be 12 weeks, 3 months, because it takes 66 days to reprogram habits, according to the science. And so what I work on is, we're creatures of habit, but, if we can create new reward mechanisms, I'd love to go into that later. But yeah, there's so much to it. Like there's a piece on the book, which is about nutritional psychiatry. There's antidepressant food score. Amazing. There's page 184. There's all the different foods in there that are proven to help your mood and cognition. I mean, fantastic.
So what does this mean for you, for your diet? What do you sort of, not that you don't have to be perfect, but what do you, I think I remember you telling me when we met a wee while back, you've really changed your diet.
Oh boy, I am so fussy. I'm so picky. I struggle to find anywhere out there, to eat. I cook most of my meals myself. And yeah, it's not just the food, it's the cooking methods. That's a whole conversation within itself that I go over with the people on my wellness program. But yeah, I always promote organic, because organic, take two broccolis, one organic, one not. Well, the broccoli that's organic is going to be far more nutrient dense. It's going to have more sulforaphane, which is basically a protectant that is for the plant. That also translates to being anti-cancer. It's an anti-cancer has anti-cancer properties. But people with digestive problems, there's a lot of talk about gluten-free, wheat-free. Yeah, absolutely. But what I also say is, hey, look, just go organic first, because you just don't know what's going on with herbicides, pesticides, all this type of thing that disrupt your endocrine system. So the book goes into endocrine system and nervous system as the two channels in which we communicate with the mind to our body. Little segue there. But yeah, what I do is I am just fastidious about what I eat. So I had a terrible hip accident and a knee accident where I was told that I needed hip surgery. I refused to entertain that idea. So I created my own health protocol to heal my hip. And that was 8 years ago. And it's just gotten better and better and better. And the same with my knee, where I am just fastidious about, what I eat, what I won't eat. In the book, it talks about Hibbelin, researcher, saying that omega-6 oils, seed oils, totally taken over, fast food, restaurant food. We, the brain operates on omega-3. So the Prison Aubrey study, they fed in England, they fed the prisoners really rich, healthy fruits, vegetables, and omega-3, and found the crime rate, violence in the prisons went down, and totally attributed it to the food. So, our brain runs on omega-3, but we feed our brain, which omega-6s. You need omega-6, you need omega-6, you need omega-9, but we're just getting far, 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 far too much of it. You don't need much of those oils. And so, that is one thing that you can do is really look at and that's why it's hard to go and eat out, because in the last 100 years, we've just gravitated to the cheaper seed oils, and that's become a part of mass production. Take on top of that ultra processed foods, and you've got a concoction, of E numbers, colorants, all sorts of things that are potential endocrine disruptors, but also, they work on the same reward pathways in the brain. So similar to how you become addicted to alcohol or cigarettes. So all of these ultra processed foods, etc., they're not doing you any good short term, long term. And so what I try and help people see is I try and help people see how they can be more dynamic if they eat right, if they exercise the right type of exercise, age appropriate exercise, if they go about good, mental health, if they use the right internal dialogue, if they use regular breathing, meditative, exercises.
And what you mentioned a couple, so and we've covered a huge amount, but you say you're going to talk about a couple of things. We talked vagal tone, and I'm not sure we covered the other one there, and I suppose the question was, and is, which you were keen to get to yourself, what does that mean in a business context? How do we what's practical about that for someone who's trying to make sure their small medium-sized business goes well?
Yeah, exactly. So, if you're CEO, if you're director, you've got critical decisions to make. Not as many decisions, but they're very important decisions. So you want to have excellent cognitive ability. You want to have good, emotional IQ. You want to be in a relaxed state when you're making those decisions. So the more that you're enhancing yourself, the more that you're investing in yourself, then the better your decision-making ability, and the better decisions you can make for the business. And if you can then um, replicate that or aid that within the workplace for your employees, then you're going to have a more productive, more efficient. You want your and you want your staff coming in, buzzing. You want your staff coming in, amping. You want your staff coming in feeling dynamic. And I love waking up in the morning, having a great sleep, and feeling just absolutely supercharged, and can't wait to tackle the day. You want your staff coming in like that. So if you're the boss, you've got to create an environment that's conducive to that. Also, what are you doing, to aid really amazing, health, food, in your workplace? What are you doing to have like, particular, parts of the office or building, or, to encourage outdoor time or part-time, or, forest bathing, or to what you're encouraging during breaks. What are you doing to help encourage people to self-soothe, because it sounds a bit nerdy, doesn't it, sometimes, oh, the boss is wanting me to do some deep breathing, come morning break. I mean, but if everybody can invest into it and see how it can benefit them, that's really, really valuable, I think.
Definitely.
So moving forward, what I want to get to is, I just personally think this is important. So I think what's happening is, we're experiencing higher unemployment. We're talking about this cost of living crisis. We're moving into winter. So there's a lot of challenges that are on the horizon. And I really feel like, like I said, I'd love to better try and help people. So this is what I thought might be helpful. So with winter coming on, what you've got to realize is that our vitamin D, for instance, from being outside, starts to diminish after about 3 weeks or so without exposure to the sun. And you only get vitamin D when the sun is about 45 degrees, in the sky. You're not getting vitamin D otherwise. So there comes a point in time where you might have to supplement. And what you also do is take K2 to make sure that the vitamin D doesn't cause calcification. You also take magnesium to help it to be synthesized better into the body. So there's ways to take it, but we deplete vitamin D over winter, and vitamin D is an immunoregulator. It's fantastic for the immune system, for health, well-being, for so many different things. Some research papers say it controls somewhere between 1,200 to 2,500 genes in our DNA. It's just amazing, so important. But then also being outside, there's serotonin, there's melatonin. There's another chart there based on all the neurotransmitters I could show you. But basically, by being outside, there's also the intensity of light. So in my book, I go into it again. So if you think about in the office, you're getting, I'm just guessing here, about somewhere around 100, 200 lumens of brightness in the office. For example, if you go into an operating theater, from memory, I think it's about 1,000 lumens of light in operating theater for surgeons to see as clearly as possible to operate. If you go outside, I think it's on my book, but I think from memory, I think it's about 100,000 lumens that you're getting outside. Far, far, far brighter intensity of light that is just signaling to your body, hey, it's daytime. And this all operates and works in with your circadian rhythm. And so with your circadian rhythm, you had a bit of a cortisol response in the morning. That's good, gets you out of bed. But come evening, you want to not have any cortisol. You want to have melatonin starting to become evident in the blood, and that aids your sleep. And so all these things, getting outside and experiencing the outdoors. If you can look at the sunrise, another famous neuroscientist that I just really love, Andrew Huberman, runs the Huberman Lab, does research around all this sort of stuff. This is some of his work now. If you can look at the sunrise and see the colors, of the sky, not directly at the sun, but see the colors of the sky, it's signaling to the brain, hey, it's morning. And in about 14 hours, 16 hours, produce melatonin. If you can do the same thing, watch the sunset, then it's reaffirming to the brain, hey, sun's going down, start producing melatonin soon. The worst thing you can do is you can start to do your emails in the evening thinking you're super efficient because you got light again from your laptop or your phone. You want to paint, you want to read a physical book, my book.
Absolutely.
You want to do things like that. You want to relax. You want to, so these are things that, you really need to be aware of over winter, just to, keep up your exercise, all that sort of stuff. Because, all these neurotransmitters, serotonin, and the endorphins you get from exercise, all these types of things all help aid our health. And we are coming into winter, but we're also coming into it looks like more redundancies, more unemployment. And so, this is not nice. And so what I want to do is, I want to go into something a bit deep here to really challenge people And that is, let's start thinking about terminology. So in my book, I go into placebo, nocebo, how powerful, for instance, these things are. So placebo is when you'll take a fake pill, a sugar pill, and you don't, but because it's being administered to you by a doctor, it does have a positive effect. And then you can have active placebo, and then you can have shared placebo, which is where the doctor and you both believe that you're going to get better. And that's even more powerful than, say, just one of you believing. And you can have ritual placebo. So these are all real things. Same thing as nocebo. So when someone says, "Hey, sorry, you've this is going to happen," I don't even want to say the words. Then you adopt that thinking to be truth, and it plays out, has the potential to play out more so. Okay, very powerful, very, very powerful. And so when it comes to terminology, we need awareness, but are we benefiting from saying things like over and over and over and over again, the cost of living crisis, cost of living crisis, cost of living crisis? Every time you open the paper, the news, cost of living crisis. How about just a challenge, everyone out there? How about the adapt and grow era? Adapt and grow initiatives. This is a chance to adapt and grow. So we are creatures of habit. We love to be comfortable, but and we don't change or don't want to change unless we have to. So we are also creatures that can adapt. So evolution just spells that right out. All the creatures, all the species that adapt, survive. So we can adapt. Just park the thought of positive reward mechanisms. If we get a chance to go into that, that's how you instill, that's how you cement changes, okay? But basically, we have got the opportunity to adapt and grow. The next thing is we need to look for the silver lining. So in every challenge, there is a silver lining. It's very, very hard to find sometimes, but if you really dig deep, no matter what the problem, you will find a silver lining. You will find an opportunity. And then the last thing is I want to just mention is have a plan. So uncertainty creates anxiety, basically. If we don't have a plan, all these things are happening to us, we become more and more anxious. Oh, what do I do? What do I do? So I'm saying, hey, look, perhaps think about this. Change your thinking. Change the terminology. Change your internal dialogue. Your internal dialogue is so, so, so important. What am I saying to myself? Okay. Change the terminology. A chance to adapt and grow. Be adaptable, be willing to be adaptable. This is a really hard thing for people. And this is how I help people on the program and my book, be willing to change. Then look for the silver lining and then have a plan how to extract that silver lining. So let's get down to like real nuts and bolts stuff that maybe some people just do not want to hear. Like one thing is, what can adapt and grow? What can I do? Is this a time to think about stopping? Eat, why? Because, well, if I stop drinking, then basically I'm going to be that much more alert. I'm going to be I'm going to be healthier. I'm going to save so much money. I'm going to better focus on, how to upskill myself. Now, dual reward is highly motivating. So if I can find tasks where we can achieve two things at once, where we can, in this case, I'm stopping drinking, and that's going to significantly better my health, my weight, my organs, my cells, my skin. But where I'm also going to save a significant amount of money, that's a dual reward. That's very, very, very motivating.
Yeah, fantastic, fantastic.
Yeah,
I suppose, Kim, there's so much in this, and people are going to have to read your book if they want to get more of that. I mean, it's probably unfair to ask you this, probably difficult. If you just sit there in our last, handful of minutes and just say it's these 3 or 4 things, do you have a sense of that, or is it too complex to do that? would you say, in terms of getting the balance that I've talked about, in terms of getting that happiness, is it, I don't know, exercise, diet, sleep, one other, or what do you reckon?
Well, in the Sanctuary Health and Healing methodology, there's a diagram I could show you. It's in the book. We talk about mind, body, biosphere. So the very first thing is to get your mind right. So the only way that you are going to heal your body, the only way that you're going to conquer a massive task, the only way that you're going to champion something is by having your mind in the right place. You've got to be your own best, supporter, cheerleader. So that comes down to affirmation. I love. It sounds old school, but I love doing affirmations in the morning and visualizing in the morning. I love looking at all my goals. I love. I look out for positive internal dialogue. I love to meditate. I use every single part of the day constructively. Like in the middle of the night, sometimes you wake up, can't get back to sleep for a little bit. I have all these tactics to get back to sleep. But a really great thing to do is to meditate, to go over and to visualize your goals and dreams. It's wonderful. It's a really productive, fun thing to do. So get your mind right. And then the second thing is to look after your body. So there's so much science around how the body. I write in my book how the mind heals the body, but the body heals the mind. So basically, by exercise is trauma processing. So through exercise, we do so many wonders for the mind as well. So looking after the body is just keep on refining your diet, keep on looking at your exercise program, mind, body, and then biosphere. Mind, body, biosphere. So biosphere is get outside, get some sun, get fresh air. Be aware of the outdoor environment. We're very close to each other. I like to walk across to the cafe for a coffee. I avoid the bus stops because of the pollution coming out of the buses. I'll walk on the opposite side of the road. I'll try and get to the domain and do a forest walk. There's a little forest track through the back there, or do a bike. So just think mind, body, biosphere.
Fantastic, fantastic. Hey, look, that's all we've got time for. But how do people get hold of you, Kim, if they if they want to do your courses, they want to get hold of your book, they want to hear more about this holistic approach that you've developed?
So basically, go to. You can follow me on Instagram. You can. I'm trying to develop a new page there to help people with food, exercise, positive psychology. So have a look for me on Instagram. It's a brand new page. It's just developing. You can go to the Urban Sanctuary website. There's a few different urban sanctuaries out there. So look for the Urban Sanctuary, and you'll see on the front page of the Urban Sanctuary where you can buy my book right away. You can get a e-book, or you can buy a hardcover. It's coming out in bookstores in October officially, but we've got a few right now that we're selling. We've got a small run size. So there'll be much more publicity around September, October. There's also the Health Directed program that you can see on that website. We are bringing out Sanctuary Store. So Sanctuary Store is just the most amazing health food for mental, physical health. So I'm very excited about that. We've got some cereals and various foods to promote plant-based proteins and various things. It all interlocks together. There's a whole lot of skincare, hair care from Vision products, 100% natural products, because skincare can have questionable ingredients, can upset, be endocrine disruptors. You hear about forever chemicals. So all this works together for incredible health. Personal care, food, mental health, literature. So look for Sanctuary Store. Look for now all these. These are various stages of development, mind you. Okay, but the book is ready. The people have been through the Health Director program. They've reported like better sleep, better circadian rhythm, better energy, more dynamic feeling, lower visceral fat. We've got a machine that only two in New Zealand that does visceral fat right down to the percentage point. So what I do is I retest people, get them on a trend. people experiencing better mental clarity, cognition, emotional balance. It's been highly successful. So I'm really passionate and really excited about helping people because I really know how they can better their lives.
Hey, thank you so much, Kim. We really appreciate it. Kim Larking, really good fun, and and a lot there to talk about.
Huge.
But yeah, no, amazing. Have a good
Yeah.
one.
Thanks heaps.